Okay, we're on.
Okay, we're live.
Right. So, things from my side. I want to talk about the architecture of the agents. I want to get any feedback you had on the usage of the system. But there was a couple of items that I found. I sent you a link to the judges' work that people have been doing on Hugging Face.
Oh yes, sorry. You did, and no, I haven't.
You might find that fun. Someone's been training a judge LM, so it's like a fine-tuned model
Oh,
for judging. Yeah.
well, there's a few. I mean, it's not any secret that you really need to get these things to police themselves, effectively.
Hmm.
I'm going to find the Hugging Face. Where is it? There it is. Judging judges. Okay, all right. Okay, so they, right. Okay, yeah. This is
Right.
uh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, the concept is obvious. It's all about weights and multiple judges, which is what we call.
Okay.
I'll read that later, though. That's a good one.
Okay. And then another item of interest. Whoopsie.
It's ironic that all this research and thinking into AIs is still into text.
Yeah. There. This one. You would love this. They they trained an internal version of ChatGPT to critique the responses of GPT.
Oh, this is another judge. Last, yeah, the test bot, one
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
one level up.
so
Okay.
this was the improvement between like fuck, where's a better graph? No. Anyway,
What's on the
this
comprehensive
one
use?
here, I mean, it's quite a strong improvement on the quality of the critique. It also showed that what they do internally is that they actually have humans in the loop that are training GPT or tweaking it constantly.
By training GPT, you mean training the bots, but not the model. I assume.
Training the model. So
Training the
they
model.
have
Mm-hmm.
they are giving feedback to. They are looking at the responses that everyone's entering, and then humans are looking through them for nitpicks or problems with the responses, and then they're going into a pipeline that gets used to fine tune the model. So that's what that
So it's
showed
going
here.
back in through the whole TensorFlow thing,
Yep,
or okay, well, these guys got money.
yep.
Um,
Well, that's what they spend money on. They
oh,
talk
sorry,
about
it's
it a lot.
OpenAI. I thought this was a random group. Okay,
No, this is
yeah,
OpenAI
yeah,
training
yeah,
GPT-4. So
yeah.
there's a paper attached to it, which is a very interesting paper. But this feels like the stuck loop, or very similar to it. And so understanding this piece, I think, is important for us for how we see the stuck loop integrating.
Okay.
But that's what I wanted to draw to your
Can you
attention.
go? Can you go up to the top? And I'll just
The hook,
yeah,
or what?
yeah, the abstract. Reinforcement learning. Click one is yeah. Okay, model arithmetic critiques. So we've had yeah. that rings true. So one of the kind of things that are blindingly obvious is you get in that even if you have a static model, then you're talking about system prompts, but the system prompts are multi-layered, like HAL. Uh, you get far better if you. I've been talking about humans as the spice to it. You should only interact, very rarely, but it's to like tweak it in the right direction,
Yeah, yeah.
and you get really good results if you
Okay,
spend a bit of time and tweak it.
right, right. Um,
Yeah,
interestingly,
we call it tampering.
no. Well, one of the ways that they trained this model was to actually get humans to take bot responses, tamper with them, and then criticize them. And what's important to note is why. Why is that better than trying to determine results from genuine responses?
So what's they take a response and then just edit it and just mess with it,
Yeah. And the
and then
point
they
is
tweak it.
that
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, that's really interesting, right? Because that's saying
Yeah,
that picking out genuine errors doesn't give you a grounded set of data to base off of. But if it's
yeah,
tampered, then you know you've got a ground set.
right. So you can just throw in random stuff, hairstack stuff, put in your password in the middle of a response.
Well, it was even a little more subtle than that, even. They were, in a way, they managed to elicit from the testers the types of faults that the testers would expect to see. So it was a way of getting the tester to summarize a bunch of things that they knew but couldn't quite accurately describe by just tampering in a way that seemed familiar to them.
So if the response was too good, well, if there's a response, you're
Yeah.
thinking, okay, that's quite good, but uh, I'm going to mess with it by adding in this spurious piece of information.
Yeah, but it was they'd
And that,
mess with it in a way that represented how they would expect to see how they have seen faults in the past occur.
and that's really interesting.
It's
What
subtle,
was
eh?
what
Like
was
it's a really
that's
interesting way to
subtle. That's very subtle. I hadn't thought of that at all.
yeah.
Um,
And so we could apply that to some of our stuff even by just making a bot that could do some tampering with some rules.
yeah,
And then
yeah, we could do that now. And you could just mess with the output and then redraw the. Say if we got how to create another system prompt, get a system prompt to create something, fuck with it, put it back into how and saying, here's the response. How do we improve the system prompt? Even though the system prompt had got it right,
mm,
it's you're kind of improving it past the point of what it's already right. It's already good enough, but how do we
mm,
tighten up?
yeah,
That's
you're
really
like
interesting.
over faulting it. Like
Yeah,
you're sort of claiming that it did something bad when it didn't, but it
yeah.
really makes the bot look at it hard and be like,
That's it's edge case testing, I guess, is the yeah,
or
analogy.
overfitting or something. Like it's an
Yeah,
interesting way to just juice a little bit more correctness out of the prompt because you force the bot to think more.
I really like that. I really like that.
Mm, right. And it
Yeah,
like it amplifies the reasoning of the LLM that it would apply to the system prompt because otherwise you're asking it too subtle
yeah.
a thing.
But again, it's you're asking the human to hone it without coming up with a full question, full answer,
Mm.
which is the essence of the kind of the spice of adding humans and AIs.
So
AIs do
that
all the
could be
heavy
a
lifting.
really interesting amplification step if we're like, here's this prompt, run it a few times with some synthetic inputs. Now take the assistant output,
Oh, right,
right?
right. You
And
know what they're
then
trying to do there, I think, is because if you just do synthetic data with a bot, you're going to get to local minima. The problem with local minimas, as you know, is it takes quite a lot of chaos in order to go over the hill to find something that might be
right,
more
right, right.
maximally
So
appropriate.
they're trying to like shuffle the system, like they're trying to rattle the system so that you can get out of any local minimas.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and find something that's a better fit,
Yeah.
and even then you can repeat rinse, repeat, all that kind of thing,
Yeah,
and that's really nice.
it's a clever thing, eh? And
I
then so
like
you
that a
basically
lot.
like get the bot to ruin or tweak what the bot said, and then present it back to the bot and say, "Your bot said this. How should we write the system prompt to not do that?"
I like
So
that a
yeah,
lot.
it's subtle,
Yeah,
but man, I reckon it's really powerful. And I really like your idea of that, like multiple temperature setting version. So like three
yeah,
different responses, and then assess them all, and then come back. Like that's super good as
yeah,
well.
and then refer back to the original goal. Yeah,
Mm,
it's that
mm.
referral back to the original goal thing. It's like, what's the best guess? And the really interesting thing is what I'm seeing is mostly, so the first is stay true to what the users actually asked. Second one is think more widely, consider there might be ambiguity and perhaps incorrect, but you still have the goal. And then there's the third one, which is go crazy, creative, whatever.
Mm.
Um, but maybe 25% of the time it goes for the middle one, which is quite interesting.
Hmm.
I thought it would always hit on the first one.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, we'll see how that all plays out then.
yeah. Ah, I quite like that. Okay, that's a good one.
Mm.
Good spot.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
that was that, and the rest is just architecture.
Yeah, so
If you
how
want
are
to
we?
get into that,
Yeah, please. How are we getting on?
so what'd you learn?
Um, well, the the stuff I'm doing is in the NL side. I can go into that, and then there's the stuff that give us an update about where we're at with what we are talking about
Okay.
last time, which
Yeah.
is back chat and moving information between bots, spinning up images into agents,
Right.
uh,
Okay.
reforming
I'll
them,
try and deal
all
with
that sort
that
of thing.
then. So this was the model that I had implemented,
Mm.
and the new model, I don't have the drawing with me. My bad. The new model is very flat. So there's all machines.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can do it like this. Nope, I can't. There's all machines. Be great to have a whiteboard, just saying. And then each
People listening,
machine,
while you're at it, laser pointer, thank you.
yeah, these are all machines too. And then off of here is terminals. So each
Okay.
machine represents a browser. And instead of having what I had over here, which was that I made this, it goes the home repo, then there's a branch into the actor, and then a branch for each machine. I've flattened it severely, and now it's just machines are all flat. I don't care where they came from, it's all just
Well,
one branch deep.
what do you mean by Mac there? You got Mac and
Machine.
M.
Well,
So
this is
what's the
supposed to
M?
be machines. Like this is the machine, this is the root branch of the machine's repo, and
Right.
then this is a
And then
fork that represents each machine.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other change I'm making is I used to have that there was fuck. It's too clunky a zoom. There was the user repo,
Yeah.
and then separately there was HAL.
Mm-hmm.
I've merged those things together so that actually HAL and the user are one and the same. And so
How being an agent, not the image of how, right?
HAL is like the set of base agents that you start the platform with. And I don't
Right.
think there's any point to start you off in the platform with no agents by default, because it is an AI based platform. It sucks to use without,
Yeah, yeah.
you
No,
know?
the question is at that start you're pulling down images in order to create your agents.
Right.
So when you're talking about how there, you're talking about the
The image of
instantiation
HAL.
of the image of how instantiated for that user.
The image of HAL is instantiated as that actor, and there
Yeah.
will be some files in there that I will make system level that the user can't alter, like which repositories have you created, um, what authentication tokens have you got with GitHub or whatever. So there's
Yeah.
some basic bookkeeping stuff that I forbid anyone from modifying because the integrity of the system faults at that point. But
Yeah.
you are using HAL from that point, and each time, so that HAL no longer looks like this, it's sort of like hoist like this. When you're an actor, you make sessions with HAL, and what you do in those sessions can be fucking anything, and it can branch further. It can call on different agents. You can share this session with other people. You can fire up a new repo somewhere else to make a new app.
Mhm.
You can do anything you like. And I think with that model, I can deliver all of the use cases that we spoke about using Backchat and using these other things with that model, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm sorry that's it's a feels like a very poor explanation, but basically flattening. I removed a whole component, so I removed the whole actor repo and all the logic there, flattened it down. There's only HAL, and you use HAL to make more bots and play with more bots. Um,
Yeah. So in that architecture, remember last time I was talking about at the moment you can write files, fine.
yep.
That's kind of goes into long storage, and I talked about being able to go into how and say uh, last year I talked to you about a gift for my wife. It's her birthday now. I don't want to make the same mistake as I did last year. Can
Mm.
we bring that back up? But that was a new session, and so that wasn't available. How does that fit into this? So it's the passing of information between sessions. The previous sessions having
So
been
that would need
archived
to
away.
call a recall function, which would be a form of isolate that can do searching. To call that isolate, it may engage several agents that are running AI calls to parse your information, but it's
Yeah.
basically doing a search through your previous sessions. It may take advantage of some summarized information that's been stored to make this type of lookup quicker, but the most raw form of that step is here's a bot that's going to read through everything you ever said. It's going to make a number of parallel calls so that that doesn't take forever, and it's going
Yeah.
to return once it's found the thing that sounds like what you're talking about, and then you're going to continue the session with that knowledge
Right. And
injected.
then you switch context, and now you're talking to that bot as we were
Yeah.
talking about last time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. And of course, we can add an extra layer there where actually the original search is summarized. You know, you talked about birthday presents. You talked about holidays, dogs. You know, Lamb, Rob, and Josh. And
Mm.
it's like, okay, holidays, and then it's like everything under holidays that reduces the search. Okay, but that kind of follows from that structure because all you're talking about is nesting search plots.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Because that's quite a big one. Because essentially that is an infinite personal memory store for everything you've ever said to how. Okay,
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Now the CRM. So a good way of thinking about these things is uh, hmm. A good way of thinking about these is fuck. Sometimes I wish Hal would have some balls and just like
Ah, no, this is this is the topic I want to talk about. Exactly your problem right there. I have a solution. Well, like a mathematician, I have a solution I've not actually implemented.
You mean you got a theory? That's what that's called. Okay, I can smell tokens burning. Tokens burning, tokens burning. A lot of tokens burning. Come on, Hal.
Yeah.
Should I hit the stop button? Oh no, we didn't implement that.
No. Well,
Here we
this
go.
is the next thing I'm doing, and I'm gonna do a HAL 4 probably today or tomorrow. That stops being quite so fucking pedantic.
This is too pedantic. I was trying to make a point, and this is not it. So
I think I told you about the use case from someone who's using HAL about just asking for a call to action, and then halfway down getting really annoyed and just saying, "Just give me the fucking CTU," because it was too pedantic.
Okay, so there's in English the way you talk is the point of view, and so first person, second person, third person is a way that we can use to describe how you would talk to bots in this system. So
Okay.
a first person session is when you're talking to the bot that you're in directly. So like when you start up HAL, that's and like this is a first person conversation because I'm talking to HAL.
Yeah.
Then we can have a second person a third person conversation is when I tell HAL to talk to someone else,
Right.
and HAL goes off and does that for me.
Yeah.
But then a second person conversation is when I'm talking to another bot, but I'm doing it sort of HAL's just relaying what I'm saying. So like I'm still technically talking to HAL, but I've engaged this other bot
tell this bot to do that for me.
Nah, it's more like I'm gonna tell them, but I'm still talking to HAL. It's like a relay mode. Yeah, this is not a good explanation.
Think of that now.
There's several ways that you want to engage a bot directly. So like the CRM, for example, is when you instantiate that bot, you need it to stick around and you need it to be affected by the sessions that are chatting to it. Whereas sometimes you invoke a bot just to do a specific task and there's no shared set of files between all the sessions with that bot that you intend to be updated. It's going to do its thing and then end. But you might interact with it, but it's going to be done at some point, and that's the end of it. Whereas like the CRM is a long running process where each session changes it in some way and it shares state between all the sessions.
Can you bring up the definition of second person again? I think you're onto something here. Which directly addresses the reader as you. Yeah. Right.
Now that I share my chat history.
It's not really second person, but you're kind of riffing on that idea, isn't it?
The idea of like
there's something between first and third.
There's a way to classify the point of view at which you're intending to use these bots. There's it's a limited form. There's only like at most there's 5 ways that you could possibly talk to a bot, and we should map them out. That's really what I'm getting.
Well, interesting. I've been thinking along the same lines. I've been coming out from a different route. So there seems to be, my current hypothesis is you can parse it as a command, or who, what, where, etc.
Mm.
Or a give me would be another command. And so these are, direct things, because giving a command means that you kind of already understand. Now that seems to be substantially different from a I want, I want you to, I need to, I'm building, etc.,
Right. So
etc.
like already Hal understands this, so I can say something like ls dot, and it knows without question that I'm meant to call that command, and
Right,
that's the end of that.
exactly. It's so, for example, to go back to, and this is exactly the topic I've been thinking about, which is what I'm going to be building next day or two. Um, it was a beautiful kind of trace a bullet. It was write me a call to action on this topic. And then Hal went through the whole kind of reasoning step and saying, "Do I really understand what you mean?" Of course, fucking hell, man. You don't need to ask what I said here. It's like, yeah, okay. I've given you a straight command, okay. So the next version of how what I was going to do is base it on. I think it needs a kind of something like a pre-processing step. It's like, what kind of command is this? And that can be really quick. Is this something that you're asking for, or you just expect a direct answer to? Second thing is this something that you've asked for but is not clear? Okay, let's go through a very short loop. Just, it's like, I think you mean this, huh? Or this is, I would like to work on this new thing that I don't really know. And then you go through, right, okay, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And it helps your thinking. So there seems to be a pre-processing step to find out what kind of command you're asking Hal.
Yeah, right. There's definitely different types. Okay, so it would help us to have that list classified somewhere, and it not obviously we got to start with you just writing that list down, but over time it needs to be a dynamically generated one that we're figuring out
Right,
from
right,
all the
right.
usage. And then furthermore, there's another level of categorization that can be unique. So the CRM guys, for example, could be, we could run an analysis on every command, and we could find that we're actually able to categorize it in 7 different ways. That's the only way
Well,
that they try to use the
exactly,
system.
exactly. And so what I was thinking is I've been looking at how people are using Hal,
Right.
and
That's good, because we
there
can,
seems
if
to be,
we'll hit the target way more if we know that chances are you're one of these buckets, and
well,
then
exactly. But how do you define the buckets? And the okay, so the rule of thumb at the moment, the heuristic at the moment appears to be, if you go full pedantic mode straight off, How is asking constantly, have you thought of this, have you thought of that, have you thought of that, and so on, are you happy with this? If at every step the user says yes, 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 the user's not given any new information, which means the first hit was actually correct,
should have just gone with it. Yeah. So
and
here's
should have just
here's
gone with it.
another way to present that for you. Um, I think there's a thing here that we need to be, instead of Hal asking for a topic, you know how like when we were trying to draft that letter, and it was like it needs more information about some things, right? And so we're
Yeah,
like, what, tell me about special development needs of children or something like that. What
yeah,
Hal should do, I think, is throw up in band a list of bots where the bot is tasked with running to ground a particular concept. So it'd be like
hmm,
topic one, topic two, and then as the user, you could jump into those bots and you'd be conversing with it to flesh out an idea or build out the knowledge. But that bot is tuned for helping get to the bottom of
Oh, I
your
see. So in each of these three, we effectively give a summary and a branch off.
a branch
You want to
bot.
talk about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Then you go
and
to
then
talk.
and then
Right?
that
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
that piece of knowledge gets stored, and so in the next time when a similar it turns out Hal needs a similar piece of knowledge, that bot starts pre-populated on what
Mm,
you've already said, because it's like, well, you worked with me on that, you nurtured that concept, and now I know that that's what the bot says, and here's how I think it fits in context.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
we move to this world of, instead of just chucking text around, part of what Hal's job is to pop up bots, where the bots are the keepers of knowledge or the keepers of format, and they're trained in a way that's better at that narrow task. So Hal becomes more an orchestrator rather than the be all and end all.
Right. So in this case, each guess we just assume that that has some value. That becomes an image that Hal has availability to,
Hmm.
and we just do a summary
Hmm.
saying, this is, you know, this does this. Second one, yeah, it sort of gets you, but it's added a few things, and the third one has gone crazy. But those are created images that if the user says, okay, let's go with the crazy one, then we pull up an agent, and then that has a session which persists that you can pull back on.
Mm-hmm.
But you can then also go back and say, actually, crazy is not so good. Let's go back to,
Yep.
the first one.
Yep. Yep.
That could be an interesting thing to try now.
And then it means that you're, instead of looking at a
Yeah.
list of files like you typically would in your file system that represent all your knowledge, you're looking at a list of bots, and there's a one bot per concept in effect. And
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
each time each one of those bots gets called on for another purpose, that represents a session with that bot. And those sessions have the ability to change the bot or grow the bot. And so you can see where the knowledge is being used because of the types of questions and the context within which it's being called on, and you can also modify it. And so when something fundamentally changes in the bot, it can go around and update all the things that depended upon it. So all the documents you produced from this particular bot, you're like, hey, turns out that's not actually true. I better go around and regen. And so it's a way of having knowledge where you also stored why it was used and when it was used and by whom at the same time as the knowledge itself. So storing a document as an agent has these provenance benefits and accessible audit benefits, as well as also growing the knowledge of shared people and concentrating your own inputs.
Right, exactly, which is what, in a really messy way, I was trying to do with, remember the meeting bot, which effectively is
Yeah,
a transcript of a meeting, which
right,
is a
right,
document,
right.
sure, but then it's an intelligent document,
Yeah.
and that persists.
Now, meeting bot should have been trying to call up a bunch of other knowledge bots that it knew it needed to update or create or modify.
Or check with, of
Yeah,
course, because
yeah,
when you're
yeah.
talking to the meeting, say if you're in a company, you're talking to the meeting bot, and what you're saying is
Mm,
completely, out of budget. It's like, yeah, okay, so we
right,
need to make some socks, but you're talking about going to Mars.
right,
Um,
right. Because then
so
it'll be like having the whole exec team in every meeting, right? You're like,
yeah,
because when the
exactly.
fucking the CFO is like, no, buddy,
It's like, that's
you
never going
can
to happen.
you can't afford that.
Yeah, yeah, it saved a hell of a lot of time.
Mm,
Yeah, so a document as an intelligent document, I think, is a really strong idea.
mm,
And that document, as an intelligent document, that also records how people interact with that document.
mm,
And then you add on that intelligent document can talk to other documents or to stay consistent and raise
mm.
inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you can add more fine-grained features, like you can share the document as its own URL so that the public can talk to it, but you can set permissions like they can only talk, they can't modify.
Yeah, or you
Um,
could set weights
Weights,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then you can also have consensus like voting, where if there's conflict between what the knowledge bot should be, people can vote on it and weigh in on
yeah,
it. And that voting need not be like you could fork those bots based on conflicted knowledge, and you're like, well, which one do you want to go with? And you're like, I'll take
yeah.
the
It'd be
Trump
interesting
supported
actually.
one. And then,
The meeting bot or the document bot itself could say, "Look, guys, you obviously don't agree. Okay, so I'm going to summarize.
mm,
Here's for all the people who interacted with me. Here are the four things. Just
yeah.
tell me what you want to do. Come on."
But
It's like,
that's good though, because that sort of you're like, here's the things we all agree on, here's the things that are different, and here's the impact of each one. Here's what you guys should have a vote on,
yeah,
or
yeah,
here's what you need more information on, and it just helps people open their minds to that they do actually get along. Like problems always get highlighted, but in practice, people agree a hell of a lot. It's just that because they only talk about the things they disagree on, you can feel like someone fully disagrees with you.
oh
And
yeah, and that they're coming from different perspectives and vectors as well, which
mm,
makes it look like you're disagreeing, but actually, if you're just
yeah,
all calm down,
yeah, people calm down. Right, so that's why I
I can,
think that's where I think this type of design really needs to go. Is that Hal would be able to just call on different organizations of bots, and knowledge is just one thing. It might be like we wanted to make a bunch of API calls, and Hal's like, look, I've assembled a team. Here's the API guy, and here's the knowledge guy, and here's this other thing. Does this
mhm.
look about right? Do you want us to start work? So it's sort of like an organizer that presents a plan and is like, this is what I think. I think it's going to cost X. Should we do it?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And also helpful to have a fact checker in there as well.
Mm,
Um, now, yeah, actually, interesting enough, that was exactly the topic I was going to raise about how to move on. Now, the this is just a reprise of what we were just talking about. But what I've been
right.
thinking about is been looking into how people think and uh, summarizing it horrifically. Basically, you got the medulla oblongata at the back of your head. It's like if you can react automatically without even bothering anyone else,
Mm,
just do it.
mm-hmm.
Which is like the direct command. And then there's needs a bit of thought here because we've done this before, right? Oh no, got it, and do it. And then the the frontal cortex is okay. Here's something new, and we need to put a bit of thought. So there's this three-tiered thing, which I was going to try and write into HAL 4, which is if it's damn obvious, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not immediately obvious, ask a couple questions, but don't be pedantic.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something you've never seen before in this session, at the moment it's only the one session, then start getting down the pedantic route. Because then
Right,
you're
right,
actually
right.
dealing with
Yeah,
something
yeah,
new.
yeah, yeah. But so that, for example, one of those things would be quite exciting to have triggered a fuck. I've never seen that before. We've never thought about it. It's not in the knowledge banks. That would give a user quite a thrill to be like, oh, I hit something
Yeah,
new,
why is
right?
it asking me all
Right.
these questions?
But for
Exactly.
example, the bot that does that would be like a derivation of the stuck bot. And so, like, that bot specializes in extracting knowledge to prepare a stuck. And
Right,
so you're like,
right.
you've asked something, Hal's never seen it before, it's got no fucking idea, it's clearly not doing what you wanted. And so Hal offers up the stuck bot as like, do you want to?
Right, which comes to the second thing. Exactly, exactly. So, imagine, okay, so the first two levels, fair enough. It's already doing that. The third level is like, okay, so you're asking me to do something that either is ambiguous, you've never done it before, I don't know how to do it, do you know how to do it? Backwards and forwards, and we'll do the three things, we'll reflect and judge, all that kind of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're still at V01. And so there seems to be, every time you use an image, there seems to be a need for I don't have a name for it yet, but a bot that's looking at the usage
Mm.
and looking at the image and saying, is there any way we can improve the image such that that
Yeah,
usage would be better?
yeah. That's like the
It's
dreamer.
almost like a
That's like
nanny bot or something. I don't know.
it's like a batch job that runs when Hal is asleep. That looks at
Right.
everything
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happened and tries to make it better, or highlight some problems that were detected, and it
Right,
just
right,
comes at it
exactly.
from all sorts of angles, right?
Yeah, so in extreme, if there's an image and generates an agent, lots of people interact with it, and most people are saying, for fuck's sake, just do it, then it's not doing it right. But it can look back through its history about why it existed, and it can improve the system prompt based on the interaction, which is the kind of spice of the human interaction, and improve itself, saying, well, it's a bit like self-reflection. The agent goes off, thinks, I could have done that better,
Right.
Right.
And then that's where we could apply that piece we were talking about, where it amplifies the erroneousness of its own responses and
Yeah,
then considers how it could have done it better.
yeah, exactly. But that's
Or
kind of an
it could even
offline
it
thing.
could even amplify the vagueness or the bad traits of the user input and be like, what do you do now? Like each
Well,
time a
yeah,
human says something, it also runs a parallel call of it being way worse.
yeah. But the thing is, the bot's never going to be able to change the human. You can give it
No. But it
prompts and
can
that
it
sort of thing,
can
but
it can use the human's input to then generate things that were near, so
yeah,
that it can be more confident that it would have responded correctly if the human had been different.
exactly. So we're thinking about this. This is actually so. Previously, we've had how they can take images and throw up agents in order to get a response to a question, and that's all great. And then that question we've had. Let's run it 3 times and get test bots, which is effectively what these reflections are. And then we've also got the judge bots, which can run on multiple models. But this is a new thing, which is a reflection on for each agent, given how it's actually interacted and what its goal is, which is
Mm,
clearly stated when it's instantiated, or when the image is generated. Um, can I improve my own system prompt? So there's
right. So that's the retrospective cycle
It's
where it.
it's like it's when you're in an argument in a bar and you're going home on the way in the taxi and go, shit, I was a bit of a dick there. I could have
I
handled that better.
can't say I've had that, but I'll take your word for it. Um,
or more often it's like, oh, I could have said something really funny there, but it's
really
like
funny,
taxi
but
waiting.
turns out I was fucking boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the retrospective cycle can run on it too. Okay, that's cool.
Right. But the important thing is the retrospective cycle is based on how the interaction is, but not it's not in generating a higher quality answer.
Mm,
It's looking at all the interactions
yeah, yeah,
about how often did someone have to repeat themselves or say just yes,
yep.
which means you're not
Right,
giving
right.
any
So
more
it could also gather
detail.
some stats and do some summarization on some statistics that we care about, but it
Right.
can also try to rewrite some system prompts, and it can file or call advantage to some stucks that are not
Yeah.
not
Oh
present.
yeah. Because what you want from any agent is to get it right first time every time,
Yeah,
and it never does. Right.
that's
Um,
right. But the
so how
more
do
the
you hone in
more
on that?
we learn, and we can even train based on a particular user. So we're like, this user always does this type of command all the time. So we should allow the system to self tune for that user so that we get it right
Sure. Yeah.
first time every time for that user, which doesn't mean it's first time every time for all users because they're all different, right? And so the
Yeah.
system should be constantly customizing to each user based on what they're doing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now the thing there would be, I still think in order to for how to select. So say if there was an image that generates an agent that does roughly the same thing, but it's honed down to understand each particular user. So you're going to get a number of images, well, maybe a one-to-one mapping with the number of users. We still need a way of advertising that they're doing basically the same thing, but they're doing it a different way. As in, they're interacting in a different way. Maybe one talks in Geordie, maybe one talks in formal English, maybe one is like down with the dudes or whatever. But they're all doing the same thing. So that summarization is what I was talking about earlier on, about when you're finding these images, there probably needs to be an index, and that index has a summary, and then you go, yep, okay, here it is.
Yeah, when you're
That's the best one.
searching for images, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so you think it's the right way to go then, that Hal would, as part of the solution to the user, would offer some bots as opposed to just pure text?
Ideally,
Like a
the user
knowledge
doesn't know
bot?
about bots.
Well, yeah, we kind of need the user to know about bots because we need them to do things like chat with the meeting, like have a talk to the meeting. The meeting is now personified. Why don't you have a talk to this concept, this plan?
Yes, fair enough. But that is okay. So this is not yet, but I think that's a bot switch. Really is the same as a topic switch. It's like I've changed my
No,
topic.
but I
We're
mean
talking
that
about this meeting.
Hal, instead of presenting you with a list of questions, the question is a bot that has a question. And so you talk to it by focusing in on it, because one of the ways that you can drive the system is this second person type of thing where you are talking to Hal, but Hal's temporarily handed you off to deal with this specific question,
Okay. Yeah.
and then once you're
Yes.
done, you pop out. But that question now contains the embodied knowledge, and Hal can chat to that question
Right. Okay.
later.
So if we've got this right, I was trying to figure out which bot to is best to serve your purposes, and maybe it's got 3 questions in order to hone it down, and then you answer one question, and by answering that question, I'll actually hand you off to that bot.
That's one way to do it. The specific case I had in mind was when, like, you take, for example, if you're trying to explain the dream catcher, how one of the questions would be like, what is this ambient attribution thing? Instead of just saying what is ambient attribution, it would say that as a bot. And it's like, when you're ready to tell me about ambient attribution, I will hand you off to this bot that is going to manage that for you and store it so that next time you never have to repeat yourself again.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I'm probably going deeper down into it in terms of context and topic switch, but yeah, what you're saying is
Yeah, so it's really
easier
like
to do.
when
It's
Hal
easy,
recognizes
sure.
some knowledge that
Yeah.
that it thinks could be sufficiently deep, and it's not like a yes no answer or a very simple thing. It's like a pretty deep topic. Hal should fire up a knowledge bot. That knowledge bot would be able to also have nested knowledge bots for subtopics and all that, and you can sort of build that out. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Hal doesn't need all that ability at the top level, plus it pollutes the session if you're busy talking about the inner workings of a topic and then you need to switch back. It's a topic change to start drilling down into information, I think.
No, I agree. And just so we're clear, what I was talking about is an idealist system that I've got in the back of my head, which is my head mark, which is it feels as indistinguishable just talking to one bot, even though there's this hierarchy and knowledge and archiving and pulling back and deciding what, you talked about this topic and this is how you like to talk, all that kind of good stuff. But it still feels like you're only talking to one. And so selecting a bot is a jar. It's a bit like HAL 3 at the moment. It says, oh, you seem to be talking about something else. I'll save the previous session as this. And this is a new session. You can go back by saying, can I go back to session 1? I've not changed that to a topic yet, actually. That'll be in 4.
Okay.
But that's jarring. a conversation between people. You don't do that. It's like, I'm going to talk about dogs now. Your response is,
yeah, no.
I'm
So
going to save this
yeah,
conversation on who's
no,
allowed.
no, no. But when you're dealing with an information retrieval system like a computer, you are always trying to switch and shuffle and all that, and you want that because you want to be switched between, oh, I'm talking about updating this customer record. Okay, now I'm talking about booking my holiday. You want to know that the machine has segregated what you're
Yes,
doing.
this is why I'm saying it's 2 years hence. So we don't need to worry about it at the moment. But that's my head mark. The reason you want to know that you're now talking about holidays is because you don't want it to conflate holidays with buying a dog.
No,
Okay,
like, because it might be going off booking your tickets. Okay,
right.
well, all right, so it sounds like we got
Yeah,
agreement on.
interesting enough, everything you've just said is what I was going to raise on my part of the session.
Funny.
Exactly that.
Okay,
So that's interesting.
so here I'll show you the latest features that I added
Okay.
to the system. I started suffixing directories with a forward slash.
Okay.
I now also sort the file responses alphabetically, but I also allow you this extra function, which is the concept of hidden files as well,
It was
like
dash
the
LA
get
sort of thing.
ignore and yeah. But what's interesting is that I just said my stuff in plain text. Hal knew to make this call with this extra parameter,
Yeah, that's good.
right? And so all that I've done there is these are the different commands. Oh, I didn't add delete. Okay, I'll put delete in there too, so you'll be able to delete it. Sorry, it's not. Yeah. The additional changes I made are. This
I think
was a
we've already got a G emoji in there from last time. Or is it a new session?
new session. New session.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to get rid of that pedantic thing. This is a great example of it. It's like how it needs to read between the lines. If you say yes, 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 it's not providing any more information. It's like, yeah, 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 right. I'm not even reading it. I'm not going to comment on it. I'm just going to say yes. Just fucking do it. Exactly. Exactly. This is the next version that's going to sort that out. There you go.
Okay, so now if I go, this is the bit I added, right? It wasn't actually storing the file and the contents, but now it is, and it's persisted. So
Okay, so what happens when you read tree.txt? Where does that go? Is that going into the session?
yeah,
So if I dumped out a bunch of knowledge
it's in the session now.
and said, read this, is the same as cutting and pasting into the session.
Yeah, it's in the session. When you read it, it goes in the session.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. To be honest, I've not been using these functions yet.
Right.
But I'll give them a
Yeah, but it's sort of coming. This is what you're going to use to write new images, update system prompts, and invoke new things. So you'll be like, call the tree sys prompt, and off it'll go, right? And so that's sort of how that all hangs together. So
what would be useful is quite often I need to retrieve previous information. At the moment, I'm cutting and pasting, but at the moment, the fact that you've written to a text file is in the session. and then reading the text file back doesn't really gain you that much because it already knows.
Sorry, say that
So,
again.
say if
Oh,
without,
writing to the text file and then reading it doesn't give you anything.
yeah, because it's still in the session.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Um, is there a way to add in something without going through the session?
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. So that's the like here you'd go there and you'd hit text, and then you'll be able to. It'll just write it straight to file without it going through the context window.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's coming. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Because that
yeah.
would be exceptionally useful.
I know, right? That'd be fucking
Yeah,
dope.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's about it. I think in our last discussion about knowledge bots and that, it became quite clear that we have the same architectural model. We got different ways that we want to use it, but it sounds like this model will work just fine. I think.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
we're gonna have first person chat is when you're talking to Hal directly. Third person chat is when you tell Hal or any bot to talk to another bot.
Which is effectively a switch of
Right. And then
context. Yeah.
of those third person interaction types, there's like third person uh it's like third person no files, because you can call the bot and have all the files in your session can be accessible to the bot.
Mm.
So third person no files, um third person third person your files, and then there's also like third person shared context. So for example, the CRM is a shared context. I'm not sure on the clear name to give it yet, but it's like a multi session bot where you are.
Well, we talked about that last time, wasn't there? There's one bot that is the purveyor of knowledge that
Mm,
bots can ask and request, you know, CRUDs based on permissions.
yeah,
But
that's
it's
right.
that bot
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. And
deals
it's
with
so
it.
it's got this shared history, but there's good use for taking an image and loading it up and running it where you intend that to be the only instance of the bot. Like there's no point in having it talk between sessions to the bot, and so that needs a
Mm.
distinct way of interaction.
Sandbox kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like one off or one shot. It's isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, and then there's second person is where you're in the session, but your session is being handed around two different bots, but you're still in
Right.
the
It's
parent
like
session, but you're
it's
being
like
sort of your call
ask
is
this
being
bot
routed.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, like so the switchboard operator seems to be a fruitful model.
Mm.
Um, the second person interactions there are the operator has transferred you to someone in the building versus the operator has transferred you to an external number, which is when.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll maybe tighten that up a bit. It's a bit like when you're on a customer call and you're talking to a customer agent, blah blah blah, and you have a question, and she says, "Can I just put you on hold?"
Mm,
And it comes back with the answer,
yeah,
and then it's like, "No, I want to talk directly to your manager," and then you go and talk to your manager directly.
right, yeah, right, yep, that's one way of thinking about it.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
yeah, this complete sort of remote interaction, that could be first person. Like you could be transferred fully to you're like, oh, you need to talk to the police, I'll transfer you now, and then you go off to
yeah,
this other organization and now you're talking to them. So
yep.
that's sort of those. I should try and write it up cleanly, but it feels like that's a
No, no.
good.
Let me. Yeah, yeah. It's. I think it's quite fruitful thing to spend a bit of time on. I'll do this. I'll spend the time thinking on it. I think that is
Right,
quite
it's
a
like all
nice
the it's
model.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
all the ways that you can interact with a bot in this system, and then from there I can match that up to how the branch architecture is being used to achieve those different modes of communication. And
Right.
and then at that point, I think the model's complete. Where I'm like, well, there is no other way that you can talk to a bot, like a chat-based interface. This has
Yeah.
been studied. English
Yeah.
language, and it's not just English. All languages have a point of view aspect of them, where you're like first, second, third person, and then there's like it's like um, see here, like third person limited, third person omniscient, third person objective. Like these
Mm.
ways of talking about people and to people are studied, and so we can have a dictionary or a chart that lays out all the ways that you could possibly have our bots.
It should map, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Or at least conceptually, because I know
yeah,
second person
yeah,
we're
yeah. It's
we're
it's
kind of
not exact, but
we're
it's
messing up
it's
with. Yeah.
we're fucking around a little bit, but at least we
Yeah.
get this exhaustive table of
Yeah.
how you can code our system, and we can train our bots to be aware of this, so that when you're trying to make a bot, it's like, oh, that's a first person omniscient bot. Are you sure you want to take that step, or would your user be better suited with blah 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 blah? So
Yeah.
there's that, and then the art is to match the Git based data structure to fit these modes of invocation the best, and make sure that the permissions all still hold. And that's really what this last round, this last week of fucking where does this piece fit has been
Right.
about,
Right.
is to how
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Git data
I
structure to
get you. I
match
get you.
the
I get you.
yeah.
So, yes, I agree with that, and um, that's the architecture on implication and that sort of thing. That's your partnership. Um, but there's an interesting thing here. So we've got the three first, second, third person. I was talking about the three layers. That's accidental. It's three again. Three layers of obvious, needs a bit of thought, but yes, then you invoke, and then
Yeah.
it's like no idea what you're talking about. The other thing I was thinking about is, again, interesting enough, we're converging on this, is like how do you use language in order to figure out what layer you're doing. So, for example, um, if I were to say, come on, give me a CTA for this,
Right.
that means that you kind of already know.
You know what you want
It,
already. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. If you
Yeah.
have one of the W words, what, who, where, etc., then it's like that's just a piece of information we got. But if you go into like the how or I need to, that's the third layer. But the general idea of using language as the core architecture, I think, is a good one. Because that's how ultimately we want people just to talk to, you know, their room, and it figures out what you want to do.
Right. So that type of sentence is called an imperative sentence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so, like, honestly, I've never learned more about the English language since GPT came on the scene.
Luckily, I spent 3 years doing linguistics along with AI as an
Yeah, fun.
undergrad.
Right.
Yeah, it's the two AI and linguistics are really
Same
tightly
thing, eh?
knit. They're
Same
really
thing.
tightly knit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you would be trying to classify. You're basically doing goaling at that point, where you're looking at is it an imperative sentence or whatever, to
Yeah.
know how assertive or how certain the person is that they know what they want, and how you should
And
respond.
in order to see what the best response
Right.
layer
Yeah,
is.
right. It'd be
And
nice to give that as some feedback as well, like the mode, or even just a subtle color hue of how would change. So like if I was like ls dash dash all, it would like switch to red and be like, this motherfucker knows what he wants. I'm gonna run the command directly. Or if you're like,
well, that'd be
I'm thinking of a color, I'm thinking of a present, and then it goes sort of soft yellow, and it's like, wow. you you know what I mean? Like it's a different person.
And if you say something, it's like, get the what the fuck. It's like, yeah, I'm thinking of a blue sky. It's like that's nice.
It's like good fucking you.
It's like, why are you talking to me about this?
Yeah.
Um, the overall theme of using linguistics and semantics and syntax in order to root the hierarchy, you've just said your side works with that, and I've been
Mm,
thinking similar from this side, which
mm,
feels good.
mm.
Um,
And if we could lay these out in tables and be like, here's the blueprints or the templates of how the whole system works, then we can finally know peace, I think, because we've got this exhaustive
yeah,
space.
because our goal is natural language all the way down, right?
Yeah, and natural
Um,
language has been studied and categorized. Natural language
yeah,
doesn't go all the way down. Natural language stops. It has a
yeah,
box. It's been well studied and debated over. So we
yeah.
need to use that to define our system. Our
I think
system.
that's uh, I think that's a really fruitful way of
Yeah, yeah, I
thinking about
really
this.
started
Yeah,
to really find benefit, particularly in the point of view aspect of English, where I was like, oh,
hmm,
that can define all the ways that you could possibly interact with a bot in the system, and therefore the data structure has to support these and only these because there's nothing else you're
right,
going to do.
right, right. But the reason I came into this resonates very well with what you just said. Is these models have been trained on natural language.
Mm,
Natural language has rules.
mm.
If we reflect those rules, then we're going to get the most parsimonious route through this.
Yeah,
We're
that's
not going to
true
be
too.
going
Yeah, that's
fiction,
true too.
fiction.
Yeah, because you can guarantee that the OpenAI guys are already doing the sort of imperative fucking. They'll have linguistics people all up the wazoo trying to
I'm
do.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, the
so
first
so
time
we're
that
we're, we're
linguistics major ever got paid. Yeah.
right, right. Like suddenly that's the hot topic, being good at English.
Yeah.
Um, so what that means then is that we're nestling nicely into how the models are being trained to recognize this, and so we can start our prompts with you are an imperative sentence interpreter. Like we can prompt it
Well,
to.
yeah, it's already going to know. So, for example, the prompting would be really sweet.
Mm,
Uh, so this is the pre-processing step I was talking about. Um, okay, so this is imperative, qualitative, inquisitive, uh, um, uh, and uh, 4 rows already going to know what these mean. I don't need to define them.
mm-hmm,
I'm just going to say if the prompt is of this type, go here. This type, go there,
mm-hmm.
and then we can get processes for each of those. So we can get if it's imperative, just fucking do it, and just fucking do it means either is there a command that's available that return, or do you need to go external and just do it based on your wider knowledge, etc. So yeah, I think this is quite fruitful. Also, it's okay. I hesitate to say this, but it seems quite simple to actually
Yep.
prompt
No, it's good. It's good
prompt up
because
this.
it's all there is. It's
Yeah,
uh, it's the universal space,
yeah. And
and
when
we
someone
can.
asks for a CTA, you never get to the point of saying, "Just fucking give me the CTA."
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay. Good.
so that's all looking good. Um, what else was there? Um, no, man, that's it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go make this thing over the next coming days, where I'll flatten down the hierarchy, and then we should be off.
Yeah. Cool. What I'm going to do is, I was going to do half four, but before doing that, um, what I'll do is do this linguistic mapping to action
Mm,
flows. because I think that would be quite handy to have in the back pocket.
We also need to
Uh,
reconcile what a help is versus an isolate versus image versus all that. Those terms would
uh,
be important to settle.
yes, yeah, very good point, well made. And I've yet to send over a set of definitions for starter for 10, so I'll do that. Okay, so uh, right, those three things is what my next piece is.
Right. And one last interesting point.
Hmm.
Um, did you know?
Probably not. I know very little.
Did you know that you can get a Starlink Mini now?
Starlink, does it come with a puppy?
I think the puppy's not included, but
Um,
you get this little thing.
okay, so what is this then? Is this like a why is this different from a bigger? Is this just a smaller Starlink? I don't see
It's a
any wires
portable
coming out of
Starlink.
it.
It's a portable Starlink. It's got the Wi-Fi base station built in, and it runs off USB-C.
Oh, that's nice.
Right? And so you can just take this thing around.
In a backpack. Well,
Yeah,
I guess that's why the puppy's there, right?
yeah,
Because you could
yeah,
put
yeah.
a puppy in a backpack. Done it a few times, wouldn't recommend it. But uh, so that's something about the size of a laptop. Yeah, about the size of a laptop. In with your laptop, boom. It runs off USB-C, so even if at push, you could run it off the power supply on your laptop. Oh, that's really neat. That's nice. What happened? But it needs to do that whole kind of track and elevate thing
Well, the latest round of Starlinks are all done manually.
manually. Oh, what? So you have to like point it?
Yeah, like the latest generation, it has a wider field of view, but it requires you to manually set it up.
Oh, not keen on that. That reminds me of the 70s when my dad was up on the
Well,
roof trying to
yeah,
point the
and
RF
yeah, but that's
TV
what you got to do
radio in the
now.
right
So it's
direction.
software guided. Like it has an app that uses a camera and gets you to,
Oh, so it gives you a happy meter and saying
yeah,
closer,
like it's
far
like
away,
point it
closer,
here,
far
point
away.
it there, whatever. But um,
Well, I suppose that's not too much of to ask. I mean, it's a phased array, so its angle of incidence is going to be quite wide. I don't know what it is, but
it's
a phased
well, it
array,
was
you don't need to be
110 and
exact.
now it's like 120. So
Okay,
that's where that's quite fun. Um, but yeah, I mean it's
that is nice. And although I never actually move away from my cave, I kind of want one, but I have no use for one.
there we go, mini, 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 mini.
So, well, this is one for you because you occasionally run off to various islands and all that kind of thing.
Field of view 110,
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. So, I
but
mean,
look, 1 kilo. That's pretty light, man.
that is backpack size, isn't it?
Backpack.
And
Yep, backpack. And so you can
is
run
there
it
any?
off your battery pack.
Yeah, is there any diminution in performance in terms of up and down, or is it
100
essentially
meg.
the same thing?
It does
Okay, so
100 meg, so it's slightly less.
okay, well that's still pretty good though, isn't it?
It's, I mean, given that you're in the middle of nowhere,
Right, so you could just go into the middle of the Sahara as long as you had a battery and your laptop. Away you
yeah,
go. You can have a Zoom call. Right.
right?
Yeah,
Like that's pretty good, man.
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, but so the new generation 3 is just this. So you have standard actuated
Yep,
that's been
that's right.
superseded by standard, and standard has no actuator. It's just flat.
Uh,
It's got a
well,
higher field of view, I think, but it's software assisted manual orienting.
yeah, but surely. So, for example, here I've got trees,
Yeah.
I've got buildings and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but
Sticking at the top of a chimney, actuated, actually does a pretty good job.
actuated, I believe, only I think it only points you to an angle based on your GPS location. It's not like, it's not trying to find you the
Yeah,
sweet spot, like, because it
yeah,
doesn't move. It turns on and it goes, "Brr, brr," and then it stops.
yeah.
Like it knows where it's supposed to be, and then it points you at the best spot, and from
No,
that
I
point
think it's
on,
this is anecdotal, but I know for sure it's pointing one direction in the morning and a different direction in the evening. So it's doing
no,
something active.
no, no. I
I'll
bet
take
you,
both, man. Honestly, yeah,
I
yeah.
bet you a pound that that's not what happens.
Is that a good Scots pound?
No, there's no more of those left. It's just a,
Okay.
it's it's just a dirty, money laundered single
All right.
pound.
I bet you £1 that I can give you two photographs where it's actually pointing in a different way. So
Yep,
just to be clear, you're saying the actuation is only during setup and then it's
yep.
fixed.
That's right. That's right.
I'm saying it moves.
Okay.
I might be hallucinating that, but we'll find out. There's a
Yeah,
pound
but
on the
yeah,
line here, so it's a serious.
I mean, the real good thing is this one, but yeah, oh, yeah.
What's that? Why is
Anyway,
that high performance? Why are they not all high performance?
this one's got it's much bigger surface area,
All right,
um,
so it's just bigger. All right, okay, right.
and it's got a bigger
Which
field
makes
of
sense.
view. Plus, it can support a higher bandwidth throughput.
Yeah, all those kind of come bundled together, don't they? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because if you
So
have
more
0.5 meters
reliable,
across, yeah,
more
yeah,
reliable, and better speed.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
ultimately, you could have a flat one in a field 5 meters across, which would be freaking
Oh,
massive.
they'll sell you that too. It's about $1 million, but it's for sale now.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
it's Hang on, I'll
Because that
end
would
it.
just have 180 degrees all the time,
Yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah.
Earth
I'll show you.
moves, and ah,
It's the Starlink.
I love these guys. I love these guys.
What was it called? It was the.
And it's still only the price of like cable here, and it just
Starlink.
I don't know, it's just so much
It's
better. Oh, okay, this is a thing. Oh no, it's still actuated though.
Oh yeah, like this one's actuated for
All
sure.
right, no, I
But
was
this
thinking
is
it's
the
just like a big flat thing.
no. There's a
Face
plan
array.
from Starlink where you can. It's like the carrier grade plan where you got to spend about $1 million on hardware and like a quarter million a month in fees or something. But
Oh, and
you
then run
get
it out from cable from there, sort of thing.
yeah, like at that point, it's your data, but it's like a gigabit guaranteed of high quality internet data, like
Oh, damn.
forever. So it's like what you'd run an ISP off of, or something like that, or a
Yeah,
country.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyway,
A
anyway, I'll
million
stop.
bucks is quite high.
It ain't what it used to be.
There used to be out in the Highlands and Islands in these remote villages what they used to they called it what was it